Welcome to the Hawks Talk podcast. All things Blackburn Hawks.
In behind the defence, cuts around, scores! Blackburn Hawks win this game 8 goals to 5.
All the latest news, player interviews and much more.
Shoots, scores!
Hawks Talk.
Our first guest on episode 26 of the Hawks Talk podcast. Forward turned defenceman. He wears number 70. It is, of course, Lee Pollitt. How are you, Lee?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not so bad, thank you. Thank you for coming back on. I think it's your third appearance now, I think.
Yeah, sounds about right, yeah.
Well, thanks for coming back on. Let's kick off then by talking about the most recent games. It is those playoff semi-finals, the double header against the Solihull Barons, 8-5 win across both games. How were they for you, Lee?
Yeah, good result. The Saturday didn't exactly go to plan. I think, obviously, they played well. The goalie stood on the red. I think we were the better team, to be honest. We just couldn't find the net. Like I say, that Laverick had a really good game, and I think going into the Sunday game, we knew that he probably wasn't going to stand on his head like the way he did on the Saturday, 2 days in a row. And we come out the right side of it. Thought that's one of the best performances of the year from all the lads on the Sunday. Got the job done.
Yeah, definitely. That Sunday performance was something else, especially missing some key players. What about the atmosphere on the Saturday with that many people in the building? Could you feel that on the ice?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was great. Yeah, does give you a second wind.
How do you feel the regular season's gone for you then, Lee, and for the Hawks as a whole, I guess?
Yeah, it's been a good year. I think we kind of struggled a little bit at the start, which has cost us down the stretch. But it wasn't easy. No one wanted to play us in pre-season. All we could get was a Div 2 side in Sutton Sting, and then obviously going straight up to Billingham first game of the season. We didn't really get a chance to get them tune-up games in, but it's been one of the most successful years recently. So there's some of the long winning streaks we've been on. Yeah, it's been a good year.
Yeah, you mentioned it there about starting off without much of a pre-season and going straight into that Billingham game. They had back-to-back warm-up games against the Whitley Warriors. So do you think that hindered us then at the start of the season?
Yeah, massively. We had obviously a strong end to the year last year, but then the team did change. There was quite a few changes, new faces and stuff, and some of the young guys that come in and without a proper pre-season game, it's hard, especially going into Billingham the first game. We could have done with a better pre-season really, but I know everyone in management was trying to find us stuff, but I don't think anyone really wanted to play us, or we couldn't get the ice and for certain games or whatever, but just didn't end up working out. But yeah, it definitely hindered the start of the year for us.
What would you say was the turning point in the season? Because there was a couple of games like the loss to Nottingham and the loss to Whitley, but what would you say was the turning point when things started to really pick up?
I think just after that, I think we went on a pretty long stretch. Not long after that, I think that was a bit of a wake-up call. We lost to Billingham, then won a couple, and then kind of lost our stride a little bit, and I think we picked up a few injuries and stuff, and but then after that we got back into it and went on a long run, and then all the way up to just after Christmas, I think, and then we've been carrying that ever since.
You've had a good year as well in the points department. 46 points in the regular season off 34 games. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's definitely ramped up when I went back into D. But yeah, I've been quite comfortable there. It's been fun going back into D again, and yeah, the guys I'm giving the puck to, they're scoring quite a lot, so it makes my job easier as far as collecting the assists.
Yeah, I think you've got 40 assists in the regular season. Not too bad of a stat. What was it that brought the change for you to play in defence from being a forward? Because obviously most Hawks fans will know you as being a forward. What was it that brought the change about?
So I played a couple of games in D before David's left, and then eventually when he left, we were looking at kind of replacing him, and it was looking like it was going to be easier to replace an import forward instead of finding an import D. So me and Dom spoke about it. It was something I was quite keen to do. Was jump back there. So yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
We asked Dom this question as well, just going back to sort of more the regular season kind of things, about the League Cup final against the Billingham Stars. Personally, two of the best games I think I've seen at this level, especially for a long time anyway. It wasn't to be for us, unfortunately, this year. Tell us your thoughts on those games.
Yeah, I think we were a better team going over the stretch of it, but obviously that first 5 minutes let us down. I think the way we performed last year, kind of a little bit of complacency kind of set in with us. I mean, we were six what was it last year? Like 6 minutes in, we're 5-0 up or something like that. So it's just human nature to kind of get a bit complacent in that situation going into the Saturday game, and it cost us early. But then I think over the next 115 minutes, we're the best team across the two games. So yeah, it was a tough one to take. I thought we got the wrong end of some refereeing decisions over the two games, and that cost us as well. I think two of the penalties were really soft up in Billingham that they ended up scoring on, and then obviously that they beat us by one over the weekend. So it was a tough one to kind of swallow, but you can't win them all.
Oh, that's true. We definitely got the better of them last year, and that's the way hockey goes sometimes, I guess. Would you say that they've been the toughest opponent you faced this year?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there's us two at the top, and it was always going to be a two-horse race getting down the stretch. I mean, Solihull was strong over the weekend, I think, but over the stretch of the season, we've by far outplayed them across the 4 games. So yeah, I think it was always going to be us and Billingham coming to the end of the year. I think everyone knew we were going to meet them in the final again for the playoffs. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about the playoffs a little bit more in a bit. What with the introduction of Leeds coming into the league and having a 10-team league, do you think that's been a good sort of change to things, that new structure?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always good having more teams in, and it gives us a good amount of games then throughout the season without having to kind of put on these extra cups and stuff like that. It's good to get more teams in the league, and especially Leeds. It's good for them with the obviously they've got the Knights there in the National League, but they're developing a lot of good players from the junior system. It's a good stepping stone for some of them guys.
And another change this year, we've seen the introduction of 3 points for a win and 2 points for an overtime win, etc. Do you think that's had a sort of a bearing on things this year?
To be honest, I wouldn't have really noticed. We kind of just go off the wins and losses, but yeah, I guess I'll have to do the maths on it to see if it's had much of an effect. But yeah, it's just something I've not really paid much attention to be honest.
No, I can understand that. You're too busy concentrating on playing the games. You mentioned like the National League team with Leeds and things like that, and obviously you've got experience in that league playing with the Hull Seahawks. What was that experience like, and how did that come about?
Yeah, great. I mean, I was signing back at Blackburn at the start of the year, and Matty asked Dom to lend him a couple of guys, and so I went and played the pre-season for him, and it was just after playing the pre-season, Matty wanted to sign me full time, so I had a bit of a think about it. And I thought, well, probably my last chance to kind of go up to a higher level again, and yeah, it was good experience. Yeah.
Would you say the standard between the National League and North One, is it a big jump, or do you think that jump's getting smaller these days?
There is a definite jump, yeah. But obviously that with the standard of imports and stuff like that, and the number of imports, and then but yeah, there's definitely a crossover with British players, and I think the gap is probably getting smaller. Like the standard we're playing at now in North One, it's getting really high in some of the games, and yeah, there's lots of players that can jump up and down and stuff like that. So it's good.
I think
Probably just the right amount of the right step between the two leagues for like the young lads coming up.
yeah, I'd agree with that. I think I've mentioned it before. I think our league gives players of all ages a real good like work-life hockey balance as well, because obviously there's quite a few more games in the National League, whereas we have just 36 in our regular season. But 36 is still a lot of games when you're giving up most of your weekends.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was the reason I ended up calling it a day. Was it was just a bit too much of a commitment, and the travel and everything with work, and you're training more regular, and the games Friday, Saturday, Sundays, and the odd midweek and stuff. And yeah, it was just getting a bit too much towards the end with work and stuff. But yeah.
No, I can completely understand that. Just going on to your Hawks teammates, then you mentioned it before. There's some additions, some younger lads, and some more experienced players. But who would you say is probably the most underrated player on the team this year, in your opinion?
Underrated. It's a tough one. I think Crossy and Hyde on D. I think some people don't realise the kind of how difficult it can be playing D, and for them lads at their age to be playing the amount of minutes with me and Bob, they've been unreal this year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely. I think I've said it a couple of times on Facebook how I think Matty Cross is one of the most underrated D men in our league. He doesn't get enough praise off people, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been playing with him since I moved back, and he plays really well. He's very smart for a player of his age, and like skates really well. He makes the right decision 9 times out of 10, probably more. So yeah, he's going to be a hell of a player.
You kind of touched on it there. That was one of the questions we had submitted in by one of our fans. It was sent in by email by Trexy67. How have you found it playing with Matty Cross? And I think you've just answered that.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, he makes my job easier a lot of the time, and takes everything on board. And he's getting stronger and stronger every week. Yeah, it's been good. Enjoyed it.
Bob mentioned when he was on the podcast at the end of last season that he's a bit of a character in the dressing room. Is he still like that? Is he still coming out with just funny moments and a bit clumsy sometimes?
Yeah, he's a special kid. Yeah.
There's a story about some trainers or something, isn't there? Is there some Nike trainers or something?
I think that's from before I signed back last year, but I have heard rumblings about it. Yeah.
Little character. Who would you say has been the player that you've rated the most this year that you maybe didn't expect to, or that you've not played with before?
I mean, going back to the new young signings, Dower and Hyde, they both had unreal years. Obviously, Crawley had a great year last year. Obviously, been plagued with an injury this year, which is a shame because I mean, just seeing him the other week for the last 2 weeks when he's been back, you see how good he is. But yeah, Dara and Hyde definitely have been really impressive this year. Sometimes you can train with some of these guys, but you don't know how they're going to react when the games start. And they've both been unreal all year.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'd agree with that, to be honest. So we'll move on and we'll talk about the playoffs in a little bit, but always a great part of the show where Hawks fans and hockey fans alike send in some questions. We touched on one earlier, but this next one is from Marie Fisher. She asks, what are some of the things you focus on when on the ice, and what 1 or 2 words would you describe yourself with? And you can't say Ovechkin.
The 2 words I probably describe myself with would be old and sore. It's taking its toll. Now. I'm getting towards 30, but things I concentrate on is mainly I pride myself on not conceding. That's something I'm always, and you can probably see me wound up sometimes when we do concede from the stands. But yeah, that's the main thing, and then just contributing. Contributing offensively as well. Even playing D, it's a 2-way game. It takes 5 to attack, 5 to defend. So, yeah, doing a bit of both.
Brilliant. Next one. This was on Facebook from Stuart Purdy. He wants to know, before and after a game, do you have any superstitions or things that you like to do that bring you luck?
No, not really. I think you kind of try and stay consistent in what you do, but nothing really in terms of superstition or anything like that.
This next one was sent in by one of the owners. I'll let you guess who afterwards. Ask Lee what he would do if he was running the club and the M62 was at a standstill and you had a deadline to meet to get to the venue. Would you A, get something to eat at the services where you are being picked up at? B, stop on the way irrespective of how much traffic there is or was and arrive even later? Or C, make sure the team got to the venue in enough time?
B. I was very hungry that game.
Can you guess who that was?
Yeah. Leave it there.
This next one, brilliant. This next one was sent in on Instagram by Tegan. What's one moment on the ice this season, good or bad, that you'll never forget?
Probably Billingham getting that go-ahead goal up there in the cup final. Like I said before, don't think they should have been on the power play at that point, but yeah, that was gutting.
Okay. And the last one, this is one from another member of the ownership group. Ask Lee why he plays with a weird curved blade pattern.
Do you know what? That's Bauer's fault, that. They used to have more of a range of curves and stuff, and the last couple of years, I don't know what it is. They've just been really, really hard to get hold of the curve that I use, and I know it's driving people around the bend a little bit, trying to sort of sticks out for me, but especially the rate I go through them. Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one.
Brilliant. So we'll let some of the fans know a little bit more about you. You're a big fan of the NHL, aren't you? Which team is it that you follow?
Yeah, I'm a Caps fan, Washington Capitals.
Someone's got to be. There's been a record breaker in that team recently, Ovechkin. I know you're a massive fan of him as well, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. He's one of the players I used to watch the most when I was younger, and that's why I ended up becoming a Capitals fan. But yeah, what an achievement. And to do it in the exact same amount of games that Gretzky is his number with.
Yeah.
It's a bit mental, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy how things work out sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said it on commentary a couple of times last season when you scored goals from right in sort of Ovechkin's wheelhouse. Would you say he influenced how you play at all?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. When I was younger, I kind of wanted to score goals but play physical at the same time. So there's probably get a bit of that from watching him. He's right up there with the hits numbers now, isn't he? So yeah, there's probably a bit of that. But yeah, it's something I've done that. I was always in that position for years, going back to playing in Widnes. I think the first time I got put in that spot on the power play, and back playing with my good friend Sean Dipnall, he used to always get it across to me from the other forehand position, and yeah, it's somewhere I've always been kind of comfortable playing on the power play, and put a few bad shots in every now and again. The lads were having a good chuckle on training the other Thursday, and I put one time straight into the netting behind the net. So
yeah, I remember. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it there for like the Widnes Wild, a host of teams around the Northwest, but you've also played in Canada as well. What was that like, and how did you come to play over there?
Yeah, that came about it was the year after the first year I played in Blackburn. I had a pretty good year points-wise playing with Addy Brittle and RJ.
Yeah.
So that made that easier. But yeah, then they got in touch with me not long before the end of the season, and said they wanted me to come over, and yeah, ended up sorting it out, and pretty easy decision to make. And yeah, it was one of the best years I've had over there. You're on the ice constantly. You play a lot of games. You're living with the team and stuff like that, and kind of small town where you're getting on the ice all the time. The whole town kind of supports the team, and yeah, it's a great experience.
Would you say it's kind of a little bit like a rite of passage, I guess, like being a hockey player and going over and playing in Canada?
Yeah, definitely. I know. I mean, not everyone does it or is lucky enough to do it, but I mean, I'd say to some of the younger lads, if you get the chance to do it, then you've got to. It's a great experience, not just hockey wise, but it's a good life experience to get away when you're younger, and opens your eyes a little bit. But yeah, it's something that's really good for young players to go and do. It's especially with the amount of ice time you get, and they play the game the right way over there. The refereeing standard's really good, so there's that complaint gone. But yeah, it's really good over there. There's lots of good coaches, lots of good players.
Brilliant. Yeah, I can imagine it's fantastic over there. What do you do when you're not playing hockey then, or watching hockey? What does Lee Pollitt do away from the ice?
Not much really during the season. Obviously got a full-time job, and yeah, go to the gym and stuff when I'm after work and stuff, trying to stay in shape for the season. And then in the summer it's golf, drinking, holidays, that kind of stuff. The usual stuff.
And one for Aidan, because obviously he can't make this episode. What's on Lee Pollitt's Spotify at the minute? What music are you listening to? Because I believe you're also the DJ in the locker room, aren't you?
Yeah. It's a wide variety, but it's mainly country music. Normally the case. And yeah, then got on my playlist for in the room as well for beforehand and afterwards, and winning songs and all that kind of stuff. So. Yeah.
Who picks the songs when you've got like winning songs and like pre-game songs? Is that something you all decide on together, or is that your responsibility as the DJ?
Yeah, I mean, I get the odd request every now and again, but they kind of leave me to it for the most part. I think over the years I've got everyone's ear already, so know what people want to listen to. So yeah, it makes my job easier.
Definitely. So attention turns to this weekend then. It is the playoff weekend in Sheffield, or the Steel City Showdown. Got to say that very carefully. First of all, what do you think of the format of the playoffs this year?
Yeah, I think it's good. It's definitely good getting the South teams involved, all of us together in one weekend. It'd be good, interesting to see them play. It's something we've never had the chance to do at Blackburn is go and play the South teams in like a North-South playoff final. So that should be interesting if we get there. Fingers crossed. But even just getting to see them teams play and getting everyone up on the same weekend should be good. They'll be bringing their fans up and stuff. I think it's good for the game at our level.
Yeah, definitely. It's something I'm excited about and something that I've wanted for a while. we meet Billingham once again in another final and another playoff final. We've mentioned it a little bit earlier what it's been like playing them, but what are you expecting going into that game, sorry?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I think they've improved all year. We've been improving all year. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think we've definitely got the ability to turn them over as we've shown throughout the year, and I think the big eyes probably suits us. Yeah, with our speed and stuff, I think we're a lot quicker, and if we can use that and stay solid at the back, then hopefully come out the right side of it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very positive going into it. The face-off time's a little bit more, not friendly, but a little bit more in our favour this time because we were the last game last year. And do you think that had an effect, especially getting the legs going on the semi-final day, on the Saturday?
Yeah, definitely it did, yeah. I noticed that. It was obviously they got the earlier slot, so they had an extra few hours, I guess, to recover. And that's one of the toughest things after a late game. You don't get to sleep straight away, so it's tough to get a good night's sleep when you've played that late. And then obviously we're playing at the same time the next day, so there's a bit of an advantage for them there. But we got it done in the end. But yeah, I was quite glad when I saw the schedule this time round.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think you're going to take in any of the other games, maybe the South1 game after ours, or?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be staying around for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the most anticipated game definitely that weekend is ours against the Stars. I think it's got the recipe to be the game of the weekend, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we all know there's a rivalry there, and been close all year. I think we split it right down the middle, haven't we? So yeah, it'll be a good one, definitely.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, Lee. And one final question before we let you go. Have you got a message for the fans ahead of this weekend?
Just get down there, support the lads. I mean, the support all year has been phenomenal. Really does make it a pleasure to play in Blackburn. So yeah, thank you to them all for that. And one more weekend, and we'll try and bring some silverware home for you.
Brilliant. Well, best of luck this weekend, Lee, and thank you for your efforts this season.
Yep, no problem. Thanks a lot, Graham.
Cheers for coming on, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yep, see you soon, mate.
Hawks Talk.
Our second guest on this episode of the Hawks Talk podcast, the fantastic host of Zero Pucks Given. It's Ben. How are you, sir?
Evening, Big G. How you doing, my friend?
I'm not so bad, thank you. Thank you for coming on as well.
Mate, thank you so much for having me. It's about time you return the favour.
I know. We've had this conversation. It's been a long time in the making, this one.
It has, almost 3 years, mate, since I started ZPG. You know, you were the first person that reached out after I started, and we started talking about exactly what we were doing to grow the game as podcasts, and your help was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, you're too kind. Well, we'll talk about South1, the Briton division, and the playoffs very soon. But first of all, let's tell the Hawks fans a little bit about you, your podcast. Where did it all start?
Well, I mean, as we said, almost 3 years ago now, I'd started watching Chelmsford's Chieftains with my daughter just before COVID, sort of late 2019. And we really got into it. So we started going quite regularly. And then obviously COVID hit, it all went away. Was trying to keep up with the sports that I love, like boxing as well, and podcasts were becoming quite popular around that kind of time. And then when we went back to hockey, we were at a game one night, and I'm flicking through Twitter on my phone. I'm thinking, who else is playing tonight? What are their scores? Who are we playing next week as well? And I thought, I can't find any real details online. There was the terrific NIHL stats that keeps us up to date with all the scores and stuff after it's all happened. But I couldn't find anything really interactive. The only podcast that I found was our mutual friend, Mr. Nicky Watt at 4,000 and Counting, which after a few listens to that, I thought this is a stories from the road, story for the boys type podcast, not really a match update one. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to start my own. I thought I follow Chelmsford, so I'll just sort of keep it about them to start with. The club initially were really helpful. Grant Bartlett, one of the top players there, was always putting a message into the group to the rest of the players to see who wanted to come on and be guests. I was a massive technophobe at the time, so it was a huge learning curve with regards to recording, technology, equipment, even literally down to talking. I think if I was to listen to this now and then go back and listen to my first episode,
Yeah.
the way I talk has completely changed.
You just kind of switch it on, don't you, as a presenter? You just you learn to just it's like it switches in your head, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And I mean, I'm an Essex boy. I grew up in Essex my entire life. I'm common as muck. Very proud to say so. But have this kind of almost like a radio voice, not quite smashy and nicey for those of us who were born in the 80s. But it's certainly something different. And you know what? I was so surprised at how quickly it all grew. There was obviously just covering Chelmsford. I had obviously a lot of listeners that were Chelmsford fans, which it created like a little bit of a buzz around the club at the time. The manager at the time, Mark Saunders, the first team coach, he said other coaches was jealous that the Chelmsford Chieftains had their own podcast, which was never an official podcast. It's completely independent from any club really. But everyone knows I'm a Chieftains fan. But I've always said on anything I've ever done with any podcast is, yes, I'm a Chieftains fan, but I'm not tribal. I never have been. I never have been in any sort of sport. I've always been able to steer it down the middle and, look at a decision, for instance, and the home crowd would go, oh, man, that's definitely tripping or interference. And I'll look at it and go, well, no, because if our lad did that to him, you wouldn't have said, oh, yeah, that's definitely. So I've always been able to look straight down the middle at stuff like that, which has been helpful. After the first year of the podcast, I kind of branched out into covering the entire league, started speaking to players and coaches of other clubs. We had the coaches' thoughts thing is something that is it's a real caveat for Zero Pucks Given because it's different to any other podcast thus far that I've found in the world. Because the division that we cover, as you said, the NIHL 1 South, the Briton division, we have exclusive coaches' thoughts from every single coach in the league. And what I mean by exclusive is they might give written words to their clubs or they might have their own social media channels in their clubs that they do things for. But the guys literally send me a WhatsApp audio message. So it is exclusive for me. And they've been so good with it. Some guys may only want to talk for 30 seconds to a minute. Some have gone on for 7-8 minutes. But the fact that we get it, it sort of picks us out from everything else. And I would say fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not too sure what way to look at it. For my division, I don't actually have any competition.
Yeah.
So it's only me covering the South1. But as far as that goes, which I've always said with every other podcast, there's no such thing as competition when it comes to ice hockey podcasts. We're all here for the same reason. And
100%.
It's to grow the game and make it more accessible to everybody.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm very fortunate and very thankful to have been on yours a couple of times. We've had you on 4000. We've got you on Hawks Talk now. You've also been on the Stars podcast as well.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned earlier, we're all in it for the same reason, and it's to grow the sport we all love. So.
Yeah, we are. I think when you came on end of last season, wasn't it? I think, and we reviewed everything up north, and I said the same thing because I had Chris Beale, who was my commentary partner in Ali Pally last year. He'll be doing the commentary at the Steel City Showdown with Joe Scutts this year. We reviewed the South, and then yourself and I reviewed the North, and we all said the same thing. Like, we'll keep this, small. We don't want a mammoth 3-hour episode, but that's exactly what it ended up. Was this enormous 3-hour episode as we broke down 2 divisions, and it's. I mean, if you're a fan of the leagues and, of teams in the league, you might not like us personally or what we say or what we do, but you've got something there. You've got some sort of independent media that's being provided for the sport you watch. And as a fan still myself, that's just priceless.
Yeah, 100%. So let's get on to some hockey talk then. A very, very competitive league down there that you've got. And a competitive season as well. What's been your thoughts on the season as a whole in the Britain division this year?
as a whole, it's actually gone pretty much the way that I predicted it would go when I previewed the season. That the league has split into three different groups, and it was expected in a way because, and I actually, before I knew more about the North, I thought that the South would actually, those teams at the top would have more hard games.
Yeah.
Than the teams would in the North. I've since been proven completely wrong on that fact because we had the likes of Milton Keynes Thunder, Oxford City Stars, who were working really hard but were getting pumped week after week by the top teams. There was even some players, sort of National League level players, that had dropped into the Britain division because it suited their work schedules better or their home lives better, but they actually got a bit fed up with the blowout games, so they moved back up to play the higher level. So yeah, the teams at the bottom of the league, the bottom two, were really, really cut away. Cardiff made the final playoff position in 8th. Swindon Wildcats had a fantastic first year back in the NIHL 1. Their NIHL 2 team had to pull out of the season before because of flood damage at the Link Centre. So for them to come into the league, perform the way they have, they've beaten the Invicta Dynamos at home, which is a massive thing for them. They've beaten the Romford Buccaneers, which all teams that finished above them. And their head coach, Ken Forshee, has been a guest on Zero Bucks Given. They've just got a terrific setup down there, and I think they're going to get better and better. Then the middle pack, Romford Buccaneers, Invicta Dynamos, Solent Devils, all kind of beating each other throughout the league, occasionally taking points off the teams above. Invicta took an overtime win off of Slough, the eventual champions, and Solent took wins off of Chelmsford and Streatham. So there's the top end was incredibly competitive, and the title race went all the way down to the final day. There was 3 teams in it up till about 2 weeks before the end, and then Chelmsford, having lost at home to Slough, were out of it. And then it kind of all changed around a little bit, where Slough were at the top, Streatham was second. There was only a point in it. Streatham went to Slough and won, so that put Streatham back on the top. And funnily enough, I was on 4,000 with Nicky and we spoke about it. And I told everybody that on that podcast, I said, there's one more twist. I think there's one more twist in the league. And then when it came out and I heard it, I obviously said that when we weren't recording because it's not there. But there was one more twist. And Slough beat Invicta Dynamos 11-1 on the Saturday night. And then on the Sunday night, Invicta managed to beat Streatham in a complete turnaround from that. And that put the title in Slough's hands, really. And Slough have just been a breath of fresh air this year.
I think just 1 point in the league, so that's an overtime loss. I guess that's the one that Slough won it with eventually.
Yeah. That was, and the only games they lost were an overtime loss to Invicta, and then 3 regulation losses to Streatham. So the point difference was the overtime win that Slough took against Streatham.
It's very similar to we've spoke about this before. And the North's the same. It splits into 3 packs. You've got your title contenders. You're sort of fighting for them decent playoff position, or fighting for them sort of that last home ice advantage spot, and then you sort of basement dwellers. So it's very interesting how it plays out. We've got the playoffs this weekend, or the Steel City Showdown. Got to say that very carefully. In Sheffield. That's happening in the next few days. Top 2 teams in our leagues are going into the final. It's the top 2 teams in every league.
It is, yeah. It's champions and runners-up in every single playoff final.
What are your thoughts going into that game, particularly from a South1 perspective? What do you expect from that?
Oh, well, considering as well it's the last game of the day. It's in the prime time slot. The nervous energy we were building up all day amongst the players.
Yeah.
And with that series that they've had this year of 4 games, Streatham have taken 3 of them. In 2 of those, Streatham were 2-0 down with about 10 minutes to go and managed to flip it around. So Slough have got to get over that mentality block of being ahead against Streatham and not being able to keep hold of it. The difference between the 2 teams is mainly age, because Slough are just incredibly young right across the board, aside from the good man, Mr. Neil Lydiard, who outdates modern hockey equipment, to be perfectly honest. But he's an absolute legend, though, Lids. But the Streatham Redhawks have got this roster that have been together for 3-4 years with a couple of added experienced players. And what I saw from them in the semi-final, especially in the first leg against Chelmsford, was pace, power, precision, and pure rehearsal. Every time they attacked with a three-pronged attack, it split the D. The player with the puck knew exactly where the other two players were. It was at the speed of light and tape to tape, and they were, in all honesty, astonishing. They were good in the cup semi-final, which some people may have seen in the cup down here.
Yeah.
Streatham beat Chelmsford 6-1 in the first leg at Chelmsford and gave them a hockey lesson. It was a very uncomfortable night's viewing as a Chelmsford fan. But the following night, Chelmsford went to Streatham, won 5-0 in regulation, and then scored in overtime, and somehow made the cup final from that. So, and Cliff, the Chelmsford coach, Lewis Clifford, had said in his coach's thoughts on ZPG a couple of weeks ago, we know we cannot do that again. We cannot perform like that in the home leg and find ourselves that many goals behind. And unfortunately, it happened exactly the same way. And the Sunday, they just could not muster up that miracle yet again. But I think it will be a very fast, a very aggressive game. Slough's forecheck is incredibly aggressive. Their top line, I've labelled them the Holy Trinity of Christian Moore, Seb Moore and Jack Goodchild. Incredibly tenacious, all incredibly skillful on the puck. If you give them an inch, they will take a mile, and then they'll be out of sight.
What do you think of the format of the playoffs this year? Obviously slightly different. Last year we had the North final and the South final, but how do you feel with them both coming together?
I love it. I think it's a really good idea. I'm not having bated breath, but I'm just waiting to see with the crowd, because we know it's sold quite well. If you go and look online for tickets now, you can only get like the odd one or two in the block, so there's not massive amounts of seating and tickets still available. It just needs to be, the atmosphere needs to be on point all day, because what we just saw in the semi-finals of the playoffs, particularly down south, was both nights, Saturday and Sunday, and both semi-finals and the quarterfinals, to be fair, was sold out barns and raucous atmospheres. And if it then goes to what's supposed to be the grand showpiece of it all, and it's a bit flat and not full, it kind of negates the point for me. We should then perhaps look at going back to just having two-legged finals, so you can have two full barns and home fans enjoying, their own team in the playoff finals. But I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's when they first announced it, we spoke, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
In pre-season. And we said, wouldn't it be great if they had a pre-season, or I think it might have actually been the end of the season.
Yeah.
If they had a pre-season friendly of the North playoff winners against the South playoff winners. Because at that time it was Blackburn and Chelmsford.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So we, and then all of a sudden, this idea popped about. So I'm not entirely sure how much our input was taken on. But yeah, it's a great idea. The idea of having a national playoff champion is a superb one. And I've said since it was announced, what I think you're going to get is a true national champion, because the national playoff at the national finals weekend in Coventry is always sort of 2 to 3 weeks after the season is finished. I don't think that every team has their full roster available.
Yeah.
There's potentially injuries that, could not wait much longer. They've gone through the playoffs and now they need to get this injury sorted, or players have gone off on holiday because the season's been done for a couple of weeks. And that might not be the truest representation of who's actually the best in the country at this level. But this weekend, I think we will find out for sure who the best is. And there's a potential, of course, for it to be a precursor for that game.
Yeah, it's true. So I'm going to press you a little bit now. Can we get some predictions from you? Shall we start with the South1 final first?
Yeah, we'll start with the South1 final. This South1 has been more competitive than usual. The thing that's in my head is that this is Streatham's final chance at a trophy. And I don't think that they're going to obviously they won't want to let that slip away. But I just think that will is going to be too strong. But I think it goes to distance. I think we get a shootout.
Wow. Hopefully we see former Blackburn Hawk Luke Brittle get a couple of goals. That'd be nice.
It's been unreal this year. Absolutely unreal.
Such a nice guy. Comes from a great family as well. I think I've spoke to you about this. There's 4 Brittle brothers, and we had 3 of them playing for us at once. We didn't get the 4th one. Stuart decided to still play for Sheffield, so we didn't have the full set.
Oh.
But 3 out of 4 ain't bad.
As Meatloaf almost said.
So let's carry on with the South then. What are you thinking about the South 2 final?
Well, this, as we said again, a league champions against runners-up. The way the fixtures actually piled up in South 2, Peterborough Phantoms 2 had completed all of their fixtures before the Guildford Phoenix had. I think Guildford Phoenix had 4 games remaining, and they could only get 1 point ahead of Peterborough. They had to win every single game.
Wow.
And they did. So Guildford have taken that title. Peterborough took the cup against Guildford over 2 legs. Actually, I think that might have been over 1 leg because I know the 2 struggled with ice time, being second teams to an elite league team and a national league team, respectively. There was another trophy in the South 2 as well, the Eddie Joseph Memorial Trophy, that I think was mainly done with similar to the Wilkinson Cup, with league games tabling up points and then into a final. So Peterborough took that. The rosters that they've got together, Peterborough have got a lot more experience. Guildford have got that youth, but they've got the experience of last year where they got to the final. To the semi-finals. They were beaten by the Buffalo, Basingstoke Buffalo. Phantoms made it all the way to the final, but they were beaten by the Buffalo as well. I think I'm gonna go with the Phantoms purely because of ex-Chelmsford interest in Leo Markey and James Pentecost. And I've got a lot of time for Nathan Pollard as well. So we'll be hopefully catching up with all of that. I think Ross Clark is actually at Peterborough Phantoms as well. He's another former Chelmsford player. So yeah, I fancy the Phantoms.
So let's venture up north. We'll start with North 2 first. Obviously 2 teams that have been quite competitive all season long, and a couple of press releases and other things from them. What about North 2? What are your thoughts going into that one?
Well, again, a really similar battle at the top between the Tigers and the Sting as it was in the Wilkinson between the Phoenix and the Phantoms. But what I would really, really love to see, especially as the first game of the day, I'd love to see an all-out war.
Yeah.
I mean, the point totals, actually, they finished Tigers 75, Sting 69. But I think after 22 games, weren't the Sting unbeaten?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I think, they lost 3 of their last 4 there, which I would assume at least 1 was against the Tigers. If not maybe 2, but yeah, to go through the whole season losing just 1 game, the amount of goals they've scored is, considerably larger than their opponents, and I think that difference of Vladimir Luka is just gonna. I think that might be the difference between the 2.
Cheat code, yeah.
But yeah, I think the Tigers do take that one, and then that would give us on the Sunday what is technically a second side National League matchup where you have the Tigers and the Phantoms going at head to head.
Yeah. Interestingly, in a couple of group chats, that's the 3 that I've got for those 3 games. Let's move on to obviously the main event of Saturday from a Hawks perspective. Anyway, another battle. Who do you think is going to take that one?
Well, it's been pretty hard to look past the Stars all year long, and they are on for this kind of unprecedented Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Where, they've obviously already taken the Moral League division, they've taken the Moral League Cup, they could take the Moral League playoffs, then they could take the national playoffs, and then they could take the National League title as well, which would just be absolutely astonishing. But the thing between these 2 teams, when we spoke last time, that these 2 teams have gone head to head in the league and the cup and the playoffs and whatnot over the last few years. Blackburn took that shootout victory in Sheffield last year. That will certainly be on the minds of the Billingham Stars. The cup final was exceedingly close this year. I watched the second leg back because it was streamed live, I think, but they kind of put together a package afterwards of it, and I watched it back, and that last 10 minutes was tense.
Yeah. That
was terrific hockey. So I think that we're going to see a fantastic game. It's got the potential to be the game of the weekend, this game.
There's a lot of rivalry and a lot of history there. Being at both those games, I've got to be honest, probably 2 of the best games I've watched at this level, just for intensity, speed, performance, just the full package, and hopefully more of the same this weekend. Maybe a bit better to watch from a neutral perspective. It might be a bit twitchy on the old seat, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to obviously go with the Hawks win. I think we're capable of doing it. Are you going to go for a Stars win, do you think, if you're being honest?
If I'm being honest, yeah, I think the main difference, although, Jacob Lutwich has been incredibly good this year, I think Ian Brown could be the difference between the two sides. He's just had an astonishing season, breaking records left, right and centre. They've had more than one player that's been breaking records left, right and centre, which has been helpful to them. I think you're on the comms for that game as well, aren't you?
Possibly, yeah. I think so. I'll have to wait and see. I'll have to check my availability in my diary and how many beverages I've had by that point. I'm sure the missus will keep me in check. So yeah, it's geared up to be a fantastic weekend, and I believe you're going to be down as well. Well, up for you.
Yeah, it'll be up for me, and it'll be up very early in the morning as well. I'm planning on being in Sheffield for about 8:30, so I can get the car parked up, get some breakfast. I think me and Watty are meeting for breakfast, and then making our way into the arena, and we'll start sort of pointing. I've got my Zero Pucks given microphone, so I can point that in people's faces. With the camera as well, and make sure that my power bank is fully charged so that we can get as much content as possible. I'm not on commentary this year, so I've got more time to just go and do talking podcast stuff, which means I'll be bringing as much content as possible. And I've wrote my monologue today for the weekend.
Oh, fantastic! You've just recently launched as well, Hockey Night Live. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Hockey Night Live has had it's had 3 episodes now. The one that we actually did this Sunday for the playoffs was a little bit on the fly. I kind of decided quite late on to do it and get it done. So late on, in fact, I didn't even realise it was the final game of the Elite League season. Otherwise, I would have been keeping an eye on that as well. We amazingly had the announcement of Ovechkin's record-breaking goal during Hockey Night Live, which was quite an astonishing thing to find myself saying live on YouTube that had happened.
Yeah.
But I was, I think it was February time, maybe late January, early February. I met up with Nick Rothwell in London. Nick's become a really good friend since he came on Zero Pucks last year. I also produce his podcast for the Stick Together group. We talk regularly, just checking in on each other. And we met up in London and we were talking about ways to grow the game in this country and get a little bit more exposure out there. And he said, have you thought of doing like a Soccer Saturday style thing? And I said, the only thought that was in my way was technology. Could I technologically do it? So I had a little look at it. I had a little play with OBS broadcasting system. And I thought, you know what, I think I can do this. And the first night I sat there with a computer right in front of me, a laptop to my left, a tablet to my right, and 2 phones, watching a stream, having the National League Game Centre on the tablet and scrolling through social media on 2 phones. And I think we covered 24 games in one night.
Wow.
And it went down really well. It's the kind of thing that I would love to do more often, but obviously I want to go and watch games as well. So I don't want to be sat here not going to see games. But moving forward with it into next year, with I'm not entirely sure how much hockey I'm going to be able to see next year, because I've had a couple of sort of personal changes. So that I don't exactly know how often the podcast is going to be next year. I don't think it will be as often as it has been this year. So it's not that I'm taking a step all the way back. It might just kind of be leaving off a little bit from it. But Hockey Night Live, we'd love to get somewhere central where we can have 2 or 3 people extra all watching streams. And then we could really get that sort of Soccer Saturday type vibe of, shut the camera to that person or to that person because they're watching this game. But it would just mean evolving it into a team really than just myself. We'd need a producer, a studio, things to help. Pretty much since I started Zero Pucks Given in October 22, I think it was, I've done the entire thing on my own.
Yeah.
All recording, all producing, all social media, graphics, everything. I've learned how to do it and done it all on my own. So moving forward to make things bigger, I might have to start looking at expanding the team a little bit.
Certainly. So, where can the Hawks fans listen to your podcast? Where can they get you on social media?
Well, if they do so desire to have some southern tones in their ears, you can, on social media, we are Zero Pucks Given Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. We are Zero Pucks Pod on Twitter/X. And Zero Pucks Given on YouTube, Facebook, and Ben ZPG on Snapchat. So it's not right across the whole social media thing. A lot of it, my daughter taught me how to do a lot of it. And the podcast is available absolutely everywhere that you can get your podcasts. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. We're part of the Sports Social Podcast Network, so we've also got a listening platform on their homepage as well. And then moving into next year, like I said, won't be quite as many episodes. We'll be dialing it back a little bit, but we'll still be giving as much content as we possibly can.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for your time, Ben. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person for the first time this coming weekend, and hopefully the Hawks come away with a victory, and I might be even happier then.
Absolutely, mate. I think after the final game on Saturday, I know that me and Watty are talking about having everyone there that's from a podcast all sitting around a round table and breaking down the game, doing it live on YouTube. It's going to be all pretty much on the fly, not rehearsed. There's not going to be any sort of fancy pop-ups on the screen. Basically, it's just going to be a phone live on YouTube, and we're going to break down the whole day.
It could be very, very interesting.
Yeah, because I think we'll probably all have a drink by then as well.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to say it depends on the amount of beverages consumed, how colourful that's going to be. But perfect. Thank you again, Ben, for your time, and we'll definitely have you on next season.
I really appreciate it, Graham. Thanks for all your help from the very beginning, and good luck with the rest of Hawks Talk. You've been smashing it. I've noticed you appearing in the top 10 of those podcast charts every now and again.
Got to show my face every now and again, I guess, along with Aidan. Yeah.
Superb stuff. Mate, thank you very much.
Cheers, buddy. Hawks Talk.